Good afternoon here on KM Activities, your home for the Komets, as we welcome you in for more interviews today. We'll have a couple of them. Have to rearrange the schedule a little bit since the holiday season is coming up here in just a moment. So want to thank KM Telecom for providing our internet as well as being our major sponsor for all interviews happening here on KM Activities for the winter season. I'm Joel McCall. Across from me is Nick Pocius, and he is the head coach for Kasson boys basketball. Last year, 3-24, lost in the first round of sections to Northfield. So, first of all, Coach, thank you very much for taking some time to talk with me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good to be here.
Yeah, me too. I really want to know about the boys program,
Sure.
and I know it's going to be a couple weeks before I get to see you, unfortunately, on the hardwood, but you guys are going to be starting off here coming up on November 30th. First of all, I really wanted to ask you a little bit about your season last year. I wasn't here, especially being your first year.
Yep.
You know, I know the wins probably, that total isn't what you're hoping for, I'm sure, but talk about your experience as a head coach and what last year was like.
Last year was a developmental process. I mean, we didn't know the kids incredibly well, and we approached it as a process, and which it still is to this day. Yeah, the wins and losses obviously not where we want it to be, but we incrementally improved throughout the season, which is what we wanted to do, and we got some of those intangible things that we want to, consistent effort, team camaraderie, some of those things that don't show up in the box score, but are very, very important for the long-term success of any program. So those were kind of our foundational things that we really tried to implement last year. And I think looking at where we're at now, I would say looking back, it was a big success. I mean, wins and losses don't always ultimately demonstrate. I mean, and people say, well, you had a losing season. It's easy to say. No, I really think that for any school or any program that went through a season where they didn't win many contests, there are small victories that are lifelong lessons within that are really important for the kids and us as coaches and adults as well. And I really feel that last season, even though the losses were bigger than the wins, it was still a success.
Well, and you have to implement your own ideas of where you want the program to be and what you want it to be.
Correct.
You did have wins over Byron and KW as well as Goodhue. What would you say is the major takeaway from last year to this year as a coach, and then as well as seeing what your players are already doing in practice?
Well, I think we needed to all get acclimated to each other. I came from I did coach at Byron for 6 years prior to that, and then I was in Bloomington Kennedy prior to that, and so we had to get used to each other a little bit, get to know what each other's strengths are, and then we just had to kind of work through some of the habits that have been some kids had to grow out of, or I had to, adapt to. And I think that was a positive thing. Because where we're at now, I think we have a good team camaraderie. We had a really good off season where we were able to really implement a lot of our offensive schemes, a lot of our defensive schemes, really focus on improving strength and speed, and that overall work ethic. And I really feel like our off season really catapulted us into what's been a really good first week of practice. And the kids have really been working hard, and we're excited to see it come together on the court. I mean, it looks great in practice right now, but we'll see what happens on Friday.
Well, and tell me a little bit about your returners, because you were very young last year. I believe you only had 3 seniors that left, if I remember correctly. Jonathan Birch, Logan Bigelow, and then Devin Knutson were your only seniors. But you do bring back a nice, strong core, it looks like, especially your top scorer with Jace Bigelow.
Yeah, we do. I mean, I would say the kids who produced the majority of our minutes last year are returning, so that's a positive. So we do have experience on our side. With Jace being back, and he's only being a junior as well, is a really nice benefit to us. He's a very talented scorer, good basketball mind, extremely athletic. I think he'll be one of the top players in the HVL this year. He was last year. He was a unanimous all-conference player by all the teams, despite some of our struggles as a team as a whole. And then, we have Jaron Sandino coming back, Alex Jennison, Tyler Wolfile, Jordan Kern, who was a really, really nice spark to us at the end of the season, who really devoted himself to the process and was a good addition to us at the end of the season last year. Carter Nelson's another senior we have back, too. So I think we have about 6 seniors and Jace back, and then we're going to have a couple juniors and a couple sophomores likely contribute to us this year. So our bench is a little deeper, we hope, this year, which I think will add to some more competitive practices and hopefully some more success on the court too.
Is it difficult coming in as the KM coach, considering all I hear about winter sports so far has been wrestling, wrestling, wrestling,
Sure.
was it difficult for you to try and get these kids to kind of implement what you wanted to do on the basketball court, or did you have guys that say, no, I'm a basketball kid, this is what I want to do?
Well, I think we can, wrestling is going to continue its success no matter what, and I hope they do. And I hope we can share success together.
Right.
The reality is, a wrestler is typically not a basketball player,
True.
and a basketball player is typically not a wrestler. So we aren't really going to probably compete for kids. And so I believe we both can have great success. I really think what we needed to do is create a basketball identity for Kasson Mantorville. There's been a lot of turnover in the head coach position over the last 10 years or so. Maybe not that far, but at least the last 5 years there has. And I hope to bring some consistency and stability and then create that identity for what we want to be seen as Kasson Mantorville boys basketball. And what the biggest thing we want to be relentless, and that's kind of our phrase, and it's going to be above the door. We want to be relentless in everything we do on and off the court, hard work, 100% dedicated to the process, continually getting better no matter what outcome may or may not be there. So, and I think that mindset is starting to grow amongst our players. I hope it stays that way for many years to come.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. And what I look back on was I know that the stats weren't all around. I couldn't find a lot of them, but I
Sure.
saw that Bigelow was about 15 points
Yep.
per game, somewhere right
Mhm.
around there. There was a dip after that,
Yeah,
and
very much so.
yeah. How do you try to implement some more offense out of your
Mhm.
lineup and get these kids to say, "Hey, if you're open, I want you to actually take that shot, be confident in it."
Well, we did a lot of shooting in the offseason. I think a lot of kids weren't confident in their shot or in terms of the pace of the game and how fast you have to get the shot off. And so we did a lot of shooting in the offseason to kind of help taking the thinking out of your shot. And that was part of it. But also we've adjusted some of our offensive schemes to meet more of our strengths. We're going to be more of a guard-oriented team with some speed and quickness. And so we're going to utilize that more so last year where we did like a single post structure and we didn't have a dominant post where that would work well, like a Stewartville, for example, or something like that. And so I think we're playing more to our strengths right now. And I think we'll have more of a balanced scoring this year. I mean, I'm really excited about Easton Noel. I forgot to mention him, which is a bummer, probably because he broke his clavicle in the last football, his shoulder blade, or right here in the last football game. He hasn't been able to practice yet, but when he's full board too, we're gonna have another really strong senior who came off a phenomenal football season, who was a really impact player this summer, and we're really excited for whenever he's 100% healthy. I just don't want to rush his process either.
True, and
Yeah.
there's another quickness on the court too.
He is.
Ball
He is. He's a
handler and-
defensive. He's a very strong defensively, and when he wants to make that decision to be a strong defensive player, he can shut down anybody that he wants to. And I'm really excited for him in this upcoming season as well.
Well, and when you're talking about using speed and utilizing that, especially, okay, offensively, we talked. Let's switch to the defensive side. You use that speed, you should be able to cause some turnovers and maybe implement some press.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's always what been kind of my shtick being a basketball coach throughout the years is being able to make it difficult for teams to prepare for us based on different defensive combinations and things like that. And then we kind of go with what works, but then we'll switch it up intermittently to keep them off balance. We had a hard time adjusting to that change last year. We were able to implement it more throughout the summer, and it showed some more positive results. And the kids like it because it is fun to play because you're going up and down, you're causing turnovers, you're throwing the deep ball. Easton's phenomenal at that. Finding the open man deep down the court. So when we are able to get those things cooking and put it all together, yeah, it should be a nice package. But again, we gotta execute.
For
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. As you said, a lot of experience coming back. Tell me about the Hiawatha Valley. I asked Coach Haraldson kind of the same thing on the girls' side. How about the boys' side? What am I going to see in some of those top-tier teams?
Sure. Well, we'll see. I mean, Lake City's always going to be the team to beat right now. Heisey and Gasner are still there. They're on the other side of the conference, though, so you only see them one time this year, where last year and the years past, and we've seen them twice. And Stewartville's always going to be tough with Will Cheddar. I mean, they've lost some important pieces outside of him. They have a really nice shooter in Steer to complement him, but they had some tall, talented guards and shooters last year that really enabled them. So I would say those two will be tough. Byron's always going to be tough because it's just a good rivalry. And then, Lourdes is at Lourdes, but they have a new coach right now as well, so it'll be interesting how they implement their system
Sure.
as well.
Yeah, got
hmm
something to look forward to,
Yeah,
especially on
absolutely.
that. You guys are traveling.
Yep.
You'll be off to Red Wing on November 30th, and you're also at Simley on 12/3. I'm going to ask you a little bit about, you come right off of Thanksgiving.
hmm
Talk to the boys hockey coach the same way because they play Wednesday and then they play again on Friday. One, you have to ask your kids not to eat so much turkey.
Sure.
Good luck with
Yeah.
that. That's what I said to him too. But also, you have to have that mindset when you come in on Saturdays. So how do you get them ready coming up against Red Wing?
Well, I mean, so we hopefully we'll be able to practice on Wednesday. I know the weather's in the
Yeah, I
air right
know.
now. I mean, we can still have something hopefully, but Wednesday will be important. I mean, Thursday. I mean, family first. So Thursday's time for your family, and then we play on Friday night. So we're going to come in and get some shots up. But the idea is if we've done all our job to prepare this last week and a half, we should be ready. I mean, our goal is for all of our practices to be harder than our games, and so we're not going to ease up on any conditioning or anything like that through Wednesday because they get Thursday off.
Right.
And so I think that, and I think knowing that that this is their opportunity to demonstrate what they've been doing. I really turn that on to the kids because for us to have a complete buy-in, the kids have to be the ones, pushing it from the ground level up. I'm the coach, sure, but really it's all about them.
It
And
is.
it's all about them and it's all about what they want to accomplish. And if they want it, I believe that they will get it for sure. And thus far throughout this season, it's been phenomenal start, and I've really seen it. They're the ones in control of the motivation. They're the ones in control of the effort. None of myself or our assistant coaches are having to worry about motivation or effort.
That's nice.
And with that being said, I believe that it's going to be an internal locus of control, which is exactly what we'd hope for from anybody.
Yeah.
So.
Well, do you know anything about your opponents at Red Wing and at
Well,
Simley
yeah,
for
Red
the
Wing
first two games?
lost a lot last year too. I mean, that was one of our lower points last year when they came in here and kind of gave it to us. But a lot of those guys that we struggled with last year are now gone. They have a couple young, talented guards, and they'll play and try to do a pressure half-court man-to-man defense with a motion style offense. It's nice to kind of go in the game kind of blind, outside of knowing those few intangibles that I mentioned, just
Right.
because then we can focus on ourselves and not the opponent. Simley, they have a nice shooter on the perimeter. They'll be more of a pressing team. They like to get up and down, but they also have a new head coach. So this was them last year with the coach who's been there for a very long time that I've known when I coached in the Twin Cities. So I'm not 100% sure what to expect out of Simley. I think we might be their first game as well.
Okay.
So they'll probably get a scout on us. But I don't know. I kind of go the John Wooden thing. Like I don't want to worry about us. If we get too much caught up in worrying about everybody else, we stop focusing on ourselves and getting ourselves better. Yeah, we have to have an idea, but I don't want to. I've gotten caught up in scouting in the past, or I've gotten way overboard. And I think keeping it simple, it helps the players keep it simple going into the game as well.
I agree. And
So-
especially when you're coming off of what you did have last year, trying to get those scouting reports and say, no, we have to stop this guy, or, worry about yourself. Everything else on the court, it'll kind of all come
I'll take
together
care of
later.
itself.
Yep.
Yeah.
Our first broadcast will be December 13th, unfortunately, since you're on the road so often. Here.
Right. Well, we're home December 10th.
I know
actually.
you are.
Oh,
You're
bummer.
against Cannon Falls, and we're going to Cannon Falls to cover
gonna
the
be
girls on the
Cool.
on the road. But we'll see you against South St. Paul, and I know later on, especially in January, we cover you a lot more because I
Great.
know
Oh,
you're
that's
at home.
great.
So looking forward to it. I
Great.
think we have about 10 broadcasts for boys and girls
Perfect.
basketball throughout the season.
Phenomenal.
So
Thank you.
I'm excited for it. And Coach, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank
Appreciate
you very
it.
much. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
So that's Nick Pocius, then the head coach for Kasson boys basketball. And again, they have their ball game coming up at Red Wing on Friday, November 30th. Again, thank you to KM Telecom for being our major sponsor for all interviews. And I'm Joel McCall. Thanks for tuning in here on KM Activities, your home for the Komets.